You don't fall in love with her. You fall into her, like gravity, like a fate, a muse, a miracle, or something far more unsettling. She doesn't enter your life, she arrives. Not with noise, not with force, but with a stillness that silences everything else. She doesn't need to speak. Her presence speaks for her, and suddenly you're no longer grounded. You're orbiting. She isn't beautiful in the way the world defines it. She's something deeper, something dangerous. She doesn't ask for your attention. She owns it, without effort, without question. You don't know her, yet somehow it feels like you've been waiting for her your whole life. As if she's the answer to a question you never asked out loud. Her voice doesn't echo in your ears, it sinks directly into your bloodstream. You don't understand it, you just feel it, and you want more. She seems perfect, almost too perfect, like someone carved from your deepest longing, the kind of perfection that doesn't feel real, because it isn't. So who is she? She isn't even real. She's a reflection, not of the world, but of you, of everything you've buried, everything you've avoided, everything you ache for but don't understand. Before we go further, pause for a moment. In this video, we're going to unravel one of the most haunting insights from Carl Jung's psychology, the anima, the inner feminine force that silently shapes what men desire, fear, and fall for. You'll discover why so many men confuse chaos for love, illusion for intimacy, and projection for connection. You'll understand how modern media, relationships, and even your own loneliness can lead you to fall for someone who doesn't even exist. And more importantly, you'll learn how to break free. Stay with me until the end, because what we're about to explore isn't just about relationships. It's about power, self-awareness, and the psychological blueprint you've been unknowingly living by. This isn't just a warning, it's an awakening. The woman every man should avoid might already be living inside you. Let's find out why. This isn't a love story, it's a psychological trap, a beautiful illusion crafted by your own unconscious mind. She's not a woman, she's a symbol, a projection, a ghost with your fingerprints on it. You've met her too. Maybe not in person, but in your mind, in the fantasy you return to, in the obsession you justify. So ask yourself, who is the woman every man should avoid? Maybe she was never out there at all, or she was always inside you. She's everywhere now, not in the streets, not in your neighborhood, but in your pocket, in your feed, in the unspoken cravings that your screen seems to know before you do. She's the curated Instagram model, filtered to pixel perfection. She's the voice in your DMS, flirty yet detached. She's the influencer who stares into the camera like she's looking into your soul, even though she doesn't know your name. She's the OnlyFans fantasy tailored just right for your loneliness. The manic pixie dream girl from the movie who exists only to make the male protagonist feel alive again. These aren't women, they are simulations. Refined, optimized, hyper-real projections engineered to hijack your anima. Modern culture has become a factory of fantasy. The algorithms know what stirs you. They learn your tastes, amplify your emotional voids, and feed you illusions on demand. You scroll not to find love or connection, but to keep the anima cycle alive, to feel a momentary surge of longing, desire, even pain. Because those feelings, though hollow, are addictive. This isn't just media, it's a psychological marketplace, and you are the customer, the product, and the addict. The woman every man should avoid has become mass-produced. She is algorithmically designed to mimic the anima. Just enough mystery, just enough chaos, just enough suggestion of healing your emptiness. She offers no real connection, only projection, only chase, only consumption. What's worse, the lines between fiction and reality blur. Parasocial relationships form, where a man emotionally invests in someone who doesn't even know he exists. He feels bonded, attached, protective, but it's a mirage. He's not relating to a human being, he's relating to an ideal. This isn't just a distraction, it's a rewiring of the soul. Because when a man's anima is shaped by media, his expectations become unattainable. He can't recognize real women, real emotions, real connection. His inner world has been colonized by curated archetypes, and he no longer knows what intimacy feels like without performance. To break free, he must detox not from women, but from illusions. He must see that behind every perfect photo, every seductive frame, every cinematic trope, there is no goddess, there is no salvation, only the echo of what he's still missing inside. You don't fall in love with her. You fall in love with what you believe she is, what she represents, what your soul has been aching for in silence. She becomes a blank canvas, and you, without knowing it, become the painter, splashing her image with colors stolen from your own inner world. This is projection, the silent architect of most modern love stories and tragedies. Carl Jung warned that when a man is unconscious of his inner anima, he doesn't recognize women as they are. He turns them into symbols, carriers of emotion he hasn't learned to hold, messengers of meaning he's never dared to create on his own. In essence, the woman becomes a screen. Onto it, he casts every unlived feeling, every forgotten childhood longing, every broken piece still searching for its place. At first, it feels magical. She understands him, completes him, somehow knows what he needs before he even says it. But that's not her. That's the illusion of her. The deeper the projection, the harder the fall. The moment she begins to show her complexity, her imperfections, her individuality, he feels betrayed. Not because she changed, but because she stopped reflecting his fantasy. This isn't love. It's worshiping a hallucination. In our digital age, projection thrives. Scrolling through filtered faces on Instagram, simping for the unreachable influencer, obsessing over a stranger on TikTok who posts just enough to feel intimate, but never enough to truly know them. The brain fills in the gaps with imagination. She becomes a savior, a goddess, the not like the others kind of girl. But these aren't real women. They're fragments of the anima. Archetypal echoes wearing digital skin. It's no different in toxic relationships. A man insists she's misunderstood. She's not manipulative, just passionate. She's not controlling, she just cares too much. He clings to the story, to the projection. Because if the illusion dies, he has to face the deeper emptiness that created it. Projection turns relationships into stage plays. Two people acting out scripts they didn't write, speaking lines they don't understand. She becomes addicted to being idealized. He becomes addicted to idealizing her. Neither sees the other. This is the danger. When you project, you don't just lose sight of her, you lose sight of yourself. The woman every man should avoid might be the one he believes is flawless, effortless, heaven-sent, because perfection is a mask, and sooner or later, all masks fall off. When they do, what's revealed isn't ugly, it's real. But if a man is too in love with his own projection, he'll see reality as betrayal. And instead of awakening, he'll run, searching again for another shadow to fall in love with. And again, and again, and again. Once upon a time, sailors heard a voice rising from the sea. It was soft, melodic, hypnotic. The voice promised warmth, comfort, salvation. But as they drew closer, they didn't find peace. They found jagged rocks, hidden just beneath the waves, ships shattered, men drowned, and no one ever saw the siren again. The myth is ancient, the psychology is eternal. The siren archetype still lives. She doesn't sing from cliffs now. She sings through screens, through charm, through mystery and emotional volatility. She appears not just as a woman, but as an experience, a rush, a thrill, a high that disguises the fall beneath it. She is not inherently evil. She doesn't cause destruction, she reveals it. The siren doesn't pull men to their deaths. Their own unhealed wounds do. She simply triggers what's already broken. To the man who hasn't met his anima, to the man ruled by projection, the siren feels like destiny. She is unpredictable, emotionally charged, always just out of reach. This creates a dangerous illusion, chaos mistaken for passion, emotional instability interpreted as depth, red flags romanticized as intensity. What feels like a soulmate is often a mirror of a man's unresolved trauma. She reflects what he's buried, his fear of abandonment, his hunger for validation, his confusion between love and control. The siren becomes a stage where his unconscious scripts are played out in full. In today's world, sirens don't need to be mythical creatures. They're hyper-real. Sometimes they're the influencer who monetizes allure, the toxic partner who love bombs then withdraws, the one who gives just enough affection to keep you addicted, then disappears when you need her most. This isn't love, it's psychological gambling. You pull the lever hoping for intimacy and get pain disguised as pleasure. It's a loop designed not by her, but by your own mind. What makes the siren dangerous is not what she does, but what she symbolizes. She is the embodiment of a man's unexamined emotions, his longing for the divine feminine, twisted into addiction, his need for control, masked as romance, his unhealed mother wound, playing out again and again. This isn't about blaming women, it's about understanding the projections that lead men to confuse manipulation with meaning. To chase a siren is to chase a ghost. The more unreachable she is, the more magnetic she becomes, and that magnetism is the trap. It keeps you chasing, hoping, breaking, believing that the next moment will be the one that finally feels like love. But the siren doesn't offer love. She offers a test. Can you see through the illusion? Can you resist the pull? Can you recognize that what you seek in her is actually missing within you? Because if you can't, you'll drown, not in her, but in yourself. There comes a moment when a man no longer knows where he ends and she begins. His thoughts orbit her. His moods depend on her. His sense of self dissolves in her presence and disappears in her absence. This is not love. It's possession. Not by her, but by something far older, far deeper, the anima. When a man is unaware of the anima within, she doesn't remain a quiet archetype. She takes control. She becomes the whisper behind every decision, the tug behind every emotion, the force behind every desperate action. Jung called this anima possession, a state in which a man becomes overrun by the very part of his psyche he hasn't integrated. He becomes moody, erratic, emotionally volatile. One moment, he idealizes her as divine. The next, he resents her for not saving him from himself. His identity is no longer grounded in who he is, but in how she makes him feel. Every interaction becomes loaded with meaning. Every silence becomes unbearable. Every slight, a wound. She becomes the lens through which he sees the world, and more dangerously, himself. He starts to lose boundaries, not physically, but psychically. He abandons his own purpose. He molds himself into whatever he thinks will keep her close. He loses the ability to say no without guilt, or to say yes without need. And here's the tragedy. He believes it's passion. He calls it depth. He says he's just sensitive. But what's really happening is disintegration. His emotional world, left unexplored for too long, now floods him through the anima. He hasn't learned to feel, so he falls into feeling. He hasn't claimed his soul, so he hands it over. Contrast this with a man who has met his anima, understood her, and integrated her. He still feels deeply, he still loves, aches, hopes, but he does not need. He does not collapse. He stands beside his emotions, not beneath them. Anima possession is not about a woman's power. It's about a man's surrender to his own unconscious. The woman every man should avoid is not necessarily the one who overwhelms him. It's the part of himself that insists he can't live without her. She isn't evil. She isn't a villain. She might not even know the role she's playing, because the woman every man should avoid may not exist, at least not in the way he believes. She is not a person. She is a pattern, a projection, a mirror held up by life to reflect the parts of himself he has yet to face. She is desire without clarity, obsession without self-awareness. She is not dangerous because of who she is, but because of what he refuses to see. She is the woman who becomes his religion, the one who carries the weight of his purpose, his happiness, his emotional survival. When he's with her, he feels whole. When she leaves, he collapses. That's not love. That's dependency disguised as devotion. She is the woman who feels like a drug, excitement that burns too fast, affection that comes with withdrawal, mystery that hides more emptiness than depth. She gives him an emotional high, not through intimacy, but through illusion, and he returns to it again and again, chasing the feeling, never realizing the cost. The woman every man should avoid is not out there waiting to trick him. She's already inside him. She is the part of his psyche that tells him, "You're not complete until she loves you." It's not a warning against women. It's a warning against ignorance of one's own unconscious, one's emotional history, one's unresolved needs. When those remain hidden, they seek expression through another person. She becomes the target of everything he's repressed, his longing, his fear, his fantasy. And then he wonders why it ends in ruin. When a man projects salvation onto a woman, he creates a prison for both of them. He chains himself to expectation. He traps her in an identity that was never hers. To see through this illusion is not to stop loving. It is to start loving consciously. You don't avoid her by walking away. You avoid her by waking up, by realizing that no one can complete you, heal you, or rescue you from yourself. Because the woman every man should avoid isn't some seductress hiding in the shadows. She is the shadow, and the only way out is through. Not every woman a man falls for exists outside of him. Sometimes she lives within, quiet, shapeless, and powerful. Carl Jung called her the anima, the feminine soul buried in the male unconscious. She is not physical, she has no body, yet she moves through him, shaping how he loves, how he fears, how he dreams. She is his gateway to emotion, creativity, intuition. But when ignored or misunderstood, she becomes distorted, seductive, irrational, and dangerous. Jung believed that every man is born with an inner feminine, a psychological mirror formed by early encounters with women, his mother, sisters, lovers, even cultural images. Over time, these impressions swirl into an internal figure, the anima. She becomes the blueprint for desire, not only for romance, but for what he believes will complete him. When a man is unaware of this inner force, he doesn't see women. He projects onto them. He meets someone. He feels an intense spark, a sudden gravitational pull. It feels spiritual, transcendent. In reality, he's seeing not the woman, but his own anima cast upon her. What he believes is destiny is often displacement. He doesn't love her. He loves the part of himself he has not yet faced. The anima can inspire a man toward depth, imagination, compassion. She can also possess him, twist his emotions, cloud his judgment. She becomes a muse in fantasy and a manipulator in reality. This isn't about women. It's about a man's relationship with his inner world. When undeveloped, the anima whispers that salvation lies outside. In the ideal woman, the perfect relationship, the mystical other half. But that's a lie. The anima is a mirror, not a map. The woman every man should avoid might not be a specific person. She might be the unconscious longing that leads him to chase what was never real. What he's truly seeking isn't love, it's integration, wholeness, peace with the chaos inside him. The danger begins when he thinks she's out there. The truth begins when he realizes she never was. Carl Jung didn't say the anima should be exiled. He said it should be integrated, not erased, not rejected, not blamed, understood. The anima isn't your enemy. She's your unfinished sentence, the doorway into your emotional life, your depth, your ability to love, not just others, but yourself. Without her, you become hollow, chasing feelings you can't name, falling for illusions you mistake as truth. But once you see her, once you turn inward instead of projecting outward, everything changes. This is the path of individuation, the slow, uncomfortable, sacred journey of becoming whole. Most men are taught to cut themselves off from their emotions. Vulnerability is seen as weakness, expression as immaturity, depth as danger. So the anima retreats. She doesn't disappear. She waits underground. And when she isn't invited to the table, she storms the castle. She returns as projection, possession, obsession. The integration of the anima is the reclamation of your emotional intelligence. It's learning to sit with discomfort without numbing, to feel desire without control, to honor your need for connection without collapsing into dependency. No woman can do this for you. She can support, she can inspire, but she cannot complete. That myth, that someone else will fix what's broken in you, is the seed of every spiritual wound. Integration means taking back your projections, realizing that what you thought she was, mysterious, healing, divine, was your soul trying to speak through someone else. You don't need to fear the anima. You need to meet her through solitude, through creativity, through the terrifying honesty of asking, what do I really feel? What do I really need? Who am I without the chase? The woman every man should avoid is not a woman at all. She's the unconscious part of himself he refuses to integrate, the part that whispers through fantasies, addictions, and silent expectations. To become whole is not to abandon the feminine, but to embrace her. Not in someone else, in you. When you fall in love, do you see her? Or do you see the version of her you created to escape yourself? Is she your companion or your distraction? What if the love you feel is not rooted in her essence, but in your absence, in a hollow space within you that longed to be filled and mistook her shape as the answer? Do you chase connection or do you flee from solitude? The woman every man should avoid is not necessarily toxic, manipulative, or cruel. Sometimes she's kind, beautiful, seemingly perfect. The danger is not in her, it's in what she means to you. She becomes the dream that shields you from your own nightmare, the illusion that saves you from sitting in silence with your deeper questions. Who am I without her? Why am I drawn to her intensity? What am I refusing to feel alone? Sometimes the most dangerous woman is not real. She's internal. She is your anima, unintegrated. She is your longing, disguised. She is everything you haven't yet healed, wearing a face that keeps changing. You don't need to fear her. You need to understand her. Because when you do, something shifts. You stop searching. You stop grasping. You stop projecting your soul onto someone else's body. And then you begin to see clearly. You realize that wholeness isn't found in another person. It's forged inside. Through pain, through patience, through presence. The woman every man should avoid is the one who lets him keep running from himself. And sometimes that woman is not someone you meet. She's someone you carry until you don't. So now you know. The woman every man should avoid isn't always flesh and blood. Sometimes she's a fantasy, a projection, a reflection of your own emotional blindness. She doesn't destroy you. You destroy yourself by refusing to look inward. But once you do, once you stop chasing illusions and start integrating the truth, you don't just avoid her, you finally meet yourself. If this made you think differently, even for a moment, hit subscribe. There are more stories like this, more truths hidden in plain sight. Leave a comment and tell me, have you ever fallen for someone you later realized was never really there? Like the video if you felt this message needs to be heard by more people. Because the most dangerous illusions are the ones we never realize we're living. And the only way out is through awareness.